Hi guys, I'm John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we've got 100 Bullets 63, Megan jumping into a pool with an older Benito and an even older Augustus. He doesn't even look like Augustus. I think that's Javier Vasco. And that might not even be Benito. But that really looks like Benito. So, cover by Dave Johnson, Eduardo Risso, and Brian Azzarello. And it starts off with Burns dragging Branch out of the bar, Deuces on 14th Street, where he drank next to Spain and got sick because there's Spain getting into a car right now. Because Cole Burns asked him to find Echo Memoria, who Branch slept with thinking she was a French prostitute, but she wasn't. She was an American girl spying on Branch. And she stole a painting of the crime, and that painting features the word Croatoa on it. Here we have Spain getting in a car with Tino. They're having a conversation about what they're going to do to Bosco when they find him. And he says something kind of cool right here. He says, "Don't worry about tomorrow. I got shit to do tomorrow. Here's $100. This is just about tonight. Tonight we're going to find the motherfucker who ate my dog, eat my best friend." So his dog being his black sort of bodyguard and his best friend being his tiny little chihuahua barking dog, man's best friend. That's kind of clever. And then we have Augustus Medici pouring a drink for himself and Megan, and Benito is there too. And he explains that, it's funny because they do all the business right here in front of Benito. They have this whole conversation about who's moving against who and what the plan is. Here's the thing. Augustus Medici is considered to be the most powerful member of the trust. Therefore, he's already won the game. He's playing an entirely different game than everybody else, and no one's really looking at it from his perspective. From his perspective, he wants legacy, longevity, obvious sort of things. When you've got everything, all you want is a box to put it in, right? And that box is his son, Benito. He's working really hard to maneuver a relationship between Benito and Megan. So all the business about the trust gets talked about right here in front of him, and then they kick him out of the room for an important conversation. And that important conversation is, how does Benito fit into the future? Only he doesn't see that. He just sees that he's getting kicked out. Megan sees that she's being included. So it's manipulative to say the least, but you got to look at it from Augustus's point of view. He's playing an entirely different game. If anything, he wants to win all of it and be in total control and be the last member of the trust. Whatever happens suits him fine. If other members of the trust get eliminated, that's great. As long as even if he gets killed, he is setting things up so that Benito and he knows that's eventually going to happen. The chances of him dying of old age in peace, like Sun Tzu, are slim to none. Because he doesn't really run an empire's army. He only has 7 Minutemen. The first thing they should have done is expand that to 700. Have a brigade. There's nothing illegal about having a private military. It's a perfectly legal business. And they've taken over governments for centuries. So here we have Cole and Branch out having a conversation. Branch is still getting over the idea that Cole wasn't there to kill him, and so he is looking at all of this through a different perspective, and Cole is just enjoying the power. Really, when you read him with sort of Brad Pitt's smirk, I don't know Chris Cornell that well, but everyone knows Brad Pitt's personality, and when you project that onto Cole, it fits really well. He doesn't take anything too seriously because there's not that many threats that can really address him where he is. Branch, however, is in a different situation. And it's funny, they have this bit right here where Cole tells him, "I want to join your club," Oh yeah, what club is that? Guys who slept with Echo Memoria. No, he says, guys who fucked Echo Memoria. And he says, Burns, she fucked me. You already belong to her club. You and I are in completely different clubs. He says, well, maybe I'll go find the other girl. Dizzy? And that gets Branch's attention. This is pretty hilarious. So far, Echo is the only person involved who's not who's not an obvious member of the trust or wasn't brought in by Graves in a briefcase or something like that. Echo's the only outside operator who seems to have had any sort of longevity. Her two partners, I believe they were Monroe Tannenbaum and Carl Reynolds. They both got killed in that story with Milo Garrett. And Lono, I believe, was a former Minuteman, one of the 7. And that might be all of them. Milo, Cole, Lono, Jack, Wiley, Victor. I'm forgetting someone. You've got Graves and Shepard. Shepard's dead. Then you've got Cole, Jack, Wiley, Lono, Milo, Victor. That's only 6. And then even with Dizzy and Loop, who is the 7th guy? Who's the guy who got burned on the pier? Branch is just a guy they tried to give a gun to, like that lady who worked at the cafe. And Graves hasn't been doing much of that anymore either. We've gotten into a point now where the Minutemen are this irreversible tractor beam for this story. And it's no longer about Graves going around handing out briefcases full of guns and bullets. But isn't it funny that this car cruises right past Branch and Burns while Spain and Tino split just a little bit before, like 2 pages before, they drove right past them. And now they arrive up at Bosco's apartment, and Tino knocks, gets Pearl to open the door. His son is there, Miguel, and Spain smashes the door open. Spain is on a permanent drug trip. He is constantly adrenaline, and he's waving the gun around despite the fact that Tino's little boy is there. He points the gun at Pearl, and he's more angry about her being with Bosco than Tino is. So, yeah, this does not end well. This is one of those braided storylines that really has nothing to do with the trust, but is really sort of keeps the comic book going, because this has all become backroom negotiations and is boring and whatnot. And the only thing that's happening here is people getting their feelings hurt in a soap opera sort of way. Like, that's what they're showing you. They're not showing you the real business. They're showing you the business of someone being disrespected and what the consequences to that are. That's the business on screen. They're not showing you the business of the trust. They're just leaving that, oh, that's just numbers, right? They should have leaned into that a little bit more, because otherwise it's just assassinations that are being negotiated. And so Benito's hanging out front, and his dad, Augustus, asks him to give Megan a ride home and tells him to take Crete with him. Benito asked, do you want him to drive or me? He said, it doesn't matter either way. So they take 2 cars, and Crete follows him. And he is in the convertible with Megan, and Crete is in the Mercedes behind him. Meanwhile, we get Graves' first name is Philip, and we know that Shepard's first name was Joseph, but Shepard is dead. And there's a shot in this one where Graves really does look like Clint Eastwood, but he also looks like, I don't know, Lurch, the Undertaker, one of those old actors I don't recognize. Now, Spain is pissed because all they have is what he calls white people. Shiloh Hendrix got us all the N-word pass, and now I don't feel comfortable saying it as much as I did. I can only say it when I'm really angry. I don't say it. I say it deliberately to piss people off when I want to fight someone. I don't just throw it around. But he says, all you got is nigger booze, and made her get naked. And now he's telling Tino that he should sleep with her. And Tino's like, not in front of my son. And he takes the son away. He says, my old man never had a problem with that. And then we get this bit, oh, we got to cut. But Tino well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, that's what's going on here. Spain is fucking insane. And Graves and Augustus Medici, are having a conversation about what's going to happen next. Neither of them really seem to care. They're both in the position, they're both where they're supposed to be. And when you are where you're supposed to be in life, nothing really matters. You just do what you're supposed to do, and what happens is what happens. And both of these guys at their age are exactly where they want to be. They're both in control and both out of control. But they have the control that they want. They have the control that they can handle. They have the control that they can responsibly handle. It's a fucking comic book. Their characters are well written. And Spain wants Tino to sleep with Pearl, and she does not like it. But Tino is getting angry because she serviced Bosco in front of him, and now he's screaming and yelling and she's freaking out, and then you get a click. And Bosco is home with his dog Shogun, and he grabs his friend's gun and shoots Tino's dick. So things have escalated quickly, and this is the first time, supposedly, Spain hears Bosco's name, because he is in town to meet Bosco and buy a bunch of drugs from him. But we don't get that till here. Meanwhile, this is a nice little conversation. That's the one where he looks like Clint Eastwood. He says, look, I'm here to give you one last chance to change the plans. Why would I want to change them? You mean temper my metal? And part of what Augustus is doing, because he is not playing Regiment, because he's not doing Empire, he's doing business as war. What he's trying to do is get the other members of the trust. This is my interpretation of what's going on. If he gets the other members of the trust to attack him, then they have broken the truce and they are fair game to be killed. It's sort of like a bigger guy teasing a little guy until the little guy attacks him, and then he can defend himself and beat the shit out of him. And that's what Augustus is setting up with the other members of the trust. He's getting so big, he's becoming Caesar, that they have to kill him because he's a tyrant and because everything he says can move markets, right? There are those guys who say, oh, I really like NVIDIA. Whether they buy it or not, a bunch of yuppies are going to run out and buy it, and the stock is going to shoot up, and then he can sell everything he's got when it's super high, and his sale will then cause the stock to crash because it'll look like people don't have faith in NVIDIA. That's what a pump and dump is, right? And when you're that big that you can do that, like Warren Buffett retiring is going to swing the market, because whoever takes over, people are going to watch that guy really closely. So it's that kind of thing. He's in a position where whatever he does, he wins. And if he can get the little guys to attack him, it's like the lion, he gets a couple hyenas to attack him, he can kill them without feeling guilty about it. And Graves wants him to stop it. Stop antagonizing them. Stop maneuvering with Megan, because they're all watching you do that too. They're watching you pull her into your camp. They're watching you move pieces on the board. You're having effects. And he says, why should I do that? Why should I stop? Integrity? Do you mean my integrity or theirs? So that's what he's got. That's the message of Machiavelli's The Prince. Everyone who reads that and says, oh, this is evil, this is evil. No, you're looking in a mirror and you're evil. You're reading that and saying, if I were in this situation, I would use this for evil. There's a side of The Prince that can be used for patriotism and honesty and integrity if that's your moral compass. If your moral compass is greed and fear, then live by the greed and fear index. But that doesn't need to be your raison d'etre, right? Your reason for life. That doesn't need to be what you live for. You can live for accomplishment, courage, heroism. You show those things. You don't have to fight with other people. You can fight with accomplishments. Do the hard thing. Do your own comic book. It's a lot harder than being a salesman of anything. Do your own story. Write your novels. You'll find out who you are really quick. You sit down and try and write a novel. And this is a great American novel. 100 Bullets is, in my opinion, probably the great American novel. And the fact that it's a comic book, what do they call it? The ninth art, the 11th art. The French have a name for it. It's kind of interesting that comics also were created in France, which you could say is the highest of European civilization. Well, it's a little too late to find this out now, Spain, because this ain't gonna work. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And he says, you should have told me you were here. We could have had a great big party. And Spain's like, he looks at the dog and murders the dog. How do we make this even? I think is what Bosco asked. Now we're even. We are now. And Bosco draws his sword and cuts Spain's head off. Spain shoots his head off. The other guys get killed too. I don't know how. Just a machine gun. But this is really bad. The machine gun shoots Pearl and leaves Tino with his dad bleeding out from a femoral artery wound. Oh, that's his dad right there with his pants around his ankles. Everybody's dead. Everybody's dead. How's that for lock, stock, and two smoking barrels? And we also get Cole Burns watching Benito and Megan. Dizzy's the replacement for Milo Garrett, so... And also, I have to back up because this is Megan walking back out to the car and says, well, that was a colossal waste of time. And she was supposed to be meeting Branch. Remember from earlier? They were on the phone. And then she got interrupted by Benito and Branch got interrupted by Cole. So she was supposed to be meeting Branch, but Cole distracted Branch and sent him looking for Echo Memoria. And here he is getting on a flight and he sees Dizzy at the airport or someone who looks like her, and he drops the flight to France and goes running back. Wherever he's going, to be continued. So we'll find out tomorrow. So this is 100 Bullets 63. And now, like I said, now it is becoming a vortex, which is a very interesting cover. It is becoming a vortex around the Minutemen and the Trust. Even though we just had a huge side story with Spain, while we're having this huge side story that I'm ignoring and claiming that there are no more of those, the story with the Trust is becoming... it's overwhelming the narrative and the context because it's just the right amount of mystery and just the right amount of leaked information with each new issue to keep people interested. And the thing is, it's hard to acknowledge that this was done 1 month at a time. Novels weren't always published cover to cover either. For a long time, those were published as chapters in magazines. But the novel is relatively new. Look, the printing press is relatively new. Comic books are even newer than that. Imagine being able to do a new cartoon, a new half an hour. Now they're doing half-hour cartoons, God, every day, right? G.I. Joe is putting out 5 a week. Wouldn't that be amazing? 26, half a year of cartoons. Anyhow, all right, see you guys tomorrow. That's wishful thinking, what I'm talking about. Is how often you can... Putting out a novel isn't hard. I got to get back to writing myself now that my eye is healing up. But anyhow, all right, talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.